fundamental. It's fundamental. A 60-foot rope is cut into 4 pieces. Pay attention as if this was your thesis. Each of the pieces twice as long as the previous. Focus on the key words, it won't get tedious. Find the length of the longest piece, that's next. What you gotta do now is solve for the X. Solve for the X, yes, solve for the X. What you gotta do now is solve for the X. 60-foot rope is cut into 4 pieces. Pay attention as if this was your thesis. Each of the pieces twice as long as the previous. Focus on the key words, it won't get tedious. Find the length of the longest piece, that's next. What you gotta do now is solve for the X. Solve for the X, yes, solve for the X. What you gotta do now is solve for the X. It's fundamental.
All right, I'm going to actually extract the word problem from the verse you just heard. The first thing I'm going to do is give you the details of the problem. The 4 details that were there were first, 1, a 60-foot rope. That 60-foot rope was cut into 4 pieces. Detail number 2. Each piece was twice as long as the previous. That's detail number 3. Right. Our 4th detail is find the length of the longest piece. Last detail, like I stated, which is something I want you all to pay close attention to. Find the length of the longest piece. Okay, just to recap. Detail number 1, there's a 60-foot rope. Detail number 2 is cut into 4 pieces. Detail number 3, each piece is twice as long as the previous. Detail number 4, find the length of the longest piece. These details are very important. And so what we're going to do is turn these details into an equation. So the first part of the first detail says it's a 60-foot rope. So the first part of our equation is going to end up on the right side. This equation is going to equal 60 feet. So we know the total length of the rope is going to be 60 feet. Now we have 4 pieces. Now these 4 pieces, we don't know the size of either one of those pieces. So we're going to start with an X. Well, we know there's going to be 4 parts of this equation. So now each piece is twice as long as the previous. So we have X plus 2X. Let me reiterate. I'm adding because we have 4 pieces. And I multiplied the 1X by 2 to get the 2X. So now I'm going to take the 2X and multiply it by 2 again. 2X times 2 is going to give us 4X. Now, if you see the successive pieces, X, we doubled X, we got 2X, we doubled 2X and got 4X. Now we're going to multiply 4X by 2. 4X by 2 is going to give you 8X. Now we have our equation. Our equation is X plus 2X plus 4X plus 8X equals 60 feet. Now we're going to solve this equation. Remember that 4th detail, find the length of the longest piece. Please pay close attention to that. Now, we're going to combine like terms. X plus 2X is going to give us 3X. 3X plus 4X is going to give us 7X. And I'm simply adding these terms together. 7X plus 8X is going to give us 15X. 15X now equals 60 feet. So now that we have combined like terms, we have 15x equals 60 feet. We still have to isolate that x variable. Now, how do we isolate the x variable? The way that 15x are combined are by multiplication. 15 times x gives us 15x. In order for us to get 15 away from the x, we're going to have to divide. Because whenever there's multiplying, to remove the 15, you have to use division. If there's addition, to remove that, you have to use subtraction, do the opposite. Now, we're going to divide. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other side of the equation. So let's divide both sides by 15. Now, 15x divided by 15 gives us x. 60 divided by 15 gives us 4. And it's always good to keep your units throughout the problem so that you remember what you're exactly trying to find. I say keep the units in here because it gives you relativity to the problem you're trying to solve. Now, we found x. X equals 4 feet. Detail number 4. Find the length of the longest piece. A lot of us will stop right here. But is that the length of the longest piece? 4 feet is not the length of the longest piece. Well, in order to find the length of the longest piece, we're going to put the 4 into the 8x part of the problem. So now 8x becomes 8 times 4. We simply substitute 4 in for x because we know that x equals 4 feet. Now 8 times 4 is going to give you 32. We're going to bring down the feet. The solution to this problem is 32 feet. So now what you've been able to take from this problem is that once you find your variable, you have to do whatever is necessary to get that variable by itself. That's solving for x. So when you added this problem together, you essentially got 15x. But you always have to get x by yourself. That's a key thing to remember. Get x by yourself. And another key thing to also remember is the answer to the problem. Find the length of the longest piece. Some of us get comfortable with solving the equation and not actually paying attention to what the problem is asking for. This concludes my presentation of math ACT related word problems. Thank you for tuning in.
Solve for the X, yes.
Solve for the X.